Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The 33rd Chromium Conference took place in Johannesburg this week, with a record number of 260 delegates from across the world. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer has the headlines from the event. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Sashnee.
So how does South Africa fare as host of the 33rd conference?
You know, the association is really based in Paris, but it was conceived in South Africa in 1984. So we were very strong at one stage in ferrochrome. I mean, South Africa really lifted that industry and put its input into stainless steel very well. We should still be leading it. But through government dilly-dallying and particularly Eskom pushing up those tariffs has lost hundreds of jobs. And you know, the Chinese now have taken the lead in ferrochrome. And guess what? There's no chrome in China. So we then give them the chrome. They add the value to the chrome. We could be doing it right here, and we were doing it for ages. You know, we had 50% of the market. We were really dominant, not only dominant in quantity, but we had a quality approach to the process. We didn't pollute the air like they do in China. We did it the correct way. But we started slipping back. Why? Because of Eskom. You know, a state-owned enterprise, sabotaging its own economy, losing jobs for the people of South Africa. And now you get into a conference like this, and it's brilliant because the people have maintained that high level of professionalism. A lot of Chinese people there, a lot of Indian people, people from all over the world. You know, I was sitting next to French people, Belgian people, all in Joburg. Fantastic to have them here. I think it was a great feat to get them here. And they were all very pleased to be here and all, you know, praising the country, everything looking well. But look at their main speeches. Where did they come from? The opening address, Zimbabwe. Because we were too reticent, probably, as South Africans, to put our own DMR on, to put our own people on. Because heaven knows what they would have said, you know, to put these people off. So, you know, you can't continue to work in such a constrained situation where your state-owned enterprises is hammering the hell out of you with electricity tariffs that are just going through the roof. And these are electricity-intensive businesses. If the government preaches beneficiation, we want beneficiation. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, if you haven't got the input costs right, particularly the electricity, you've got no chance. So don't start saying we want to beneficiate and you should be adding value to this, that and the other. Who is stopping that? The government. And they never apologize. You know, all you see is terrible goings on at Eskom, which is supposed to give us that input, and preservation of their own political futures. That's all they're worried about, not worried about the country. Here we had a pole position in ferrochrome. We've lost it. Not through any other reason than South Africans take the bullet and shoot themselves in the foot. And this has got to end.
Now, Zimbabwe did place strong emphasis on underground mining.
Yes, you know, the Zimbabweans came in, they, you know, that's not an ideal place either, is it? But here it is next door, but it was a preferred place to what we are. So where do we stand? Along comes the Zimbabwean, and he starts putting a case for more investment, more meaningful investment, because he's saying, you know, chrome mining up to now, there's been a big emphasis on open cast, strip mining, and the contention that these officials have, whether it's correct or not, I don't know, is that, you know, you mustn't just go for a low-cost approach. You need to go for a more intensified approach that includes underground mining, they say, on the basis of not only quantity but also quality. So they're looking at improving that. We put that out on Twitter. We got a big response on Twitter. So there must be people who understand what that government is saying. Maybe the people who have studied this clearer. It wasn't the greatest of presentations, but at least, you know, there was someone from Africa to actually open that to an international community. And Zimbabwe got a lot of the publicity where I think we should have also had publicity, given our background. I mean, we are huge in chrome. We have been. You know, the JCR group was massive. That group got dismantled during the Brett Keble era. It went this way, that way. You know, we hardly know which way it's gone. But some of the big companies have now grabbed the ball there. Glencore for one, doing a very good job. You know, cut down on its own electricity consumption, made sure it didn't use too much. And you know, a lot of other new companies coming in, well, a lot of them not doing too well in ferrochrome. Some of them you saw dying on their feet. So it's a whole mixture of things in ferrochrome. But chrome mining has suddenly got a spurt because the price of the commodity lifted. And we see a lot of platinum miners wanting to recover chrome on tailings dumps because they know that they can get some return on their investment quite fast there. So chrome is a metal that people are looking at and wanting to make sure they get in on that act. And you could see the enthusiasm at this Chromium Conference, attended by a record number of people and with a lot of sponsors, and Mining Weekly itself actually did the publicity for that as well.
Now, Henk Langenhoven said that South Africa still had potential, mining potential. How do we capitalize off this?
Yes, you know, most of Henk's speech, and correctly, was around the terrible situation in South Africa with the court cases. You know, today, there they are on the continuing court cases. Tomorrow, where will they be on the continuing court cases? Perhaps the Chamber of Mines should forget about its building in the centre of Johannesburg and take up full-time occupation of the High Court, because this is what it's coming to. But the points that are being made is that sanity is coming out of the High Court. You know, you can't get any decision anywhere else. You get the DMR, Department of Mineral Resources, not functioning properly. You get a Minister of Mineral Resources having one conversation inside the country, another conversation outside the country, and I've been hearing other conversations that we know nothing about, which actually indicate to me, from some of the geologists I've spoken to, that he is quite happy with the situation, because he feels that in time, you know, all the other investors will disappear, and these assets can then be worked in a different way, not realizing that it takes a lot of money to turn these things to account. You need people with deep pockets to come in. So what is going on in the background is just too terrible. We're having court case after court case, but if you look at the credit situation and possible credit downgrade for us, those people involved, the Moody's and all the others, they're saying, you know, they are happy with what is coming out of the courts. So thank goodness for the courts. It's become a bit of a saving grace that they say there's, you know, we get encouraged by the decisions of the court. We get discouraged by the government decisions, but at least there's some encouragement there, because we daren't have another credit downgrade. I mean, the losses we're going to suffer if that really dips to the lowest level is something that we've got to try and avoid. And that was another point made by Henk Langenhoven. But he said, I don't want to just go right through the speech without any positives. There are tremendous positives. And he's saying he, in the chamber, the people in the chamber, believe that these obstacles are going to be addressed and that we will be able, we don't know the time frame, to get into these assets in South Africa where we're still well endowed to turn so much to account. I mean, we know that just De Beers alone has got 54 applications for exploration. They don't do that lightly. And what did the Department of Mineral Resources do? They blocked them. Now, how absurd. When you need to create employment, you're destroying employment. And we don't hear much sanity coming out of that department. And it just goes on and on. In court, they don't even put their case well, you know. And then, so we've got today and tomorrow, we've got another one in December. Hopefully, we'll enter the new year in a different frame of mind, because South Africa needs it.
Now, illegal mining and regulatory uncertainty were also highlights at the conference.
You see, you've got international people on the floor there, 260 people. They asked for questions. What does the question come out? What are you doing about illegal mining? So, of course, Henk Langenhoven sitting there, he's really on the economic side of the chamber. He has to reply and say, you know, this is a huge worry. In fact, it's a concern because you feel as though these highly illegal syndicates are making so much money that will you be able to move them out of the way when you have to? You know, they might become so powerful that you won't be able to move them out of the way when you need to, when you've got a better legislative framework, that these guys could entrench themselves. So you need to really focus the mind to remove them. And we saw with the Cook gold mine and the Cook uranium assets out at Randfontein, the police did not lift a finger to do a thing. Now, you've got a police force which is supposed to enforce the law. Surely they should be somewhere. You know, they should be on surface to arrest the guys when they came up. I mean, the way that they had to deal with there was to plead with their workers not to take food underground and then to forbid food from going underground. And that's the only thing that brought more than 400 illegal miners up. And the police, were they there to arrest them? No. You know, they have to organize. It costs so much. The private sector is paying security firms a lot of money. They have to do the job. Even in Barberton, we saw the police refuse to go underground. They are terrified. So can't there be a unit that actually gets involved in this and works as a public-private partnership with these private security firms which have to take the risks, which have to be underground, on the ground, and doing all the work that the police should at least be involved in if we're going to get rid of illegal mining, which is an absolute curse, a selfish curse where selfish people, some of them not even South Africans, go under there, they pull out this metal, they give it to criminal syndicates that process it, that pay them next to nothing, but it's a lot of money for them, and they don't worry about giving jobs to graduates coming out of universities. They're not worried about paying taxes, they're not worried about paying royalties. And yet they're allowed to get away with this, and yet you hear some people being conciliatory about this. This is not like the artisanal miners of Africa who have been there for centuries. No, these are Johnny-come-lately people who see opportunities and see an enforcement that is so weak that they can break through and they can cause other people to lose their jobs, as we saw at Cook, when the whole operation, obviously the other factors as well, had to be put on care and maintenance, and only the surface workings with the 132 jobs are continuing there at Cook, and a big contributing factor, no doubt, is illegal mining.
Thanks for speaking with us, Mark.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.